this division right now.
No big deal. No big deal.
He has to take on Seiko, which is our next match that's coming up. Seiko versus Swidz. You saw the records 8-2 versus 4-6, which means that we can start talking about deck lists as they're coming up. So, Seiko has brought Rogue once again to this one. As you can take a look at the deck here. He has played the Shark Rogue almost specifically, Tempo Rogue in this instance. I don't think I've seen him play a single Sea Giant, if I recall correctly. And I like that. I hate Sea Giants in this deck.
Oh, tell them how you really feel. Yeah, I wish I could take the polar opposite stance just so we could get in a big raging argument, but I'm kind of indifferent to it. I think it's a fine card. I think there are several other options that can go in the deck that have a fairly similar power level, and I think Eviscerate is one of them, to be perfectly honest. So I really don't have a hard stance in that debate. You see secondary, tertiary coming down very similar in the secondary deck to what we've seen, the anti-mage strategy with Walk the Plank and Betrayal. But his anti-warrior, or his greedy version of the deck, whatever you want to call it, is very different. It's not the mech package with the Coppertail. It's Mountain Giants that are coming into his deck instead.
Mountain Giant.
Mountain Giant.
Mountain Giant.
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me right now, Mountain Giant in a Rogue deck.
Yep.
All right, I believe it.
I played Rogue on ladder for like 2 days with 4 Giants in it, and it had a extremely good win rate.
You had Sea Giants in there?
Yep.
Why?
Because it was dumb. And it was really, really funny.
That means I understand it.
Yes.
Take a look at Swidz side of it. Did I just say Seiko side of it?
Nope.
Seiko
You said it correctly. Anyway, while Admirable's brain has shut down, I will tell you that Swidz is playing what we are now officially calling H1O Rogue, which is the single Sea Giant in their half of Water Rogue, essentially. But he is packing in some Eviscerates alongside those Spirits of the Shark and Sea Giant, which is a kind of interesting hybrid way of dealing with it. And then even further, his secondary and tertiary depart from what we've been looking at so far. He brings back in the second Sea Giant to go alongside Betrayals, but no Walk the Planks in what looks like his version of the Anti-Mage. And the tertiary is very spicy indeed with Geppetto Joybuzz.
Yeah, you pretty much hit everything nail on the head, and I completely missed it. For whatever reason, Seiko's name in my head parsed as Swidz, who had, I believe, yet to play Sea Giant. He was playing mostly just the Tempo Rogue in this one. Seiko has played a lot of Sea Giants, like a large number of them.
Okay.
So I just literally got it backwards in my head, and that's why my brain shut down. It was like, does not compute, what's happening?
Yeah, you genuinely did look like you were powering down for a second there.
I seriously don't know what happened in my head. I was just like, they're both S names.
But it's interesting because the card that's making room in Swidz's version of the deck is the Hench Clan Burglar, right? That's what's coming out to pack in those extra cards. Like Eviscerates and Sea Giants don't generally go in the same deck, which is kind of a curious way of dealing with it, because it does seem like one of the most generically powerful cards in the deck in most scenarios.
Which I kind of like, because that means you get to take out the Blink Foxes from the deck to add in more just stuff. And it also means that, so because you're not playing Vendetta, you get an easy inclusion of the Eviscerates that are in there.
Right.
So I personally like to favor the Reach, even if it costs you something, because it's like, for me, I like Blink Fox and I like Hench Clan Burglar, but I feel like they're just so clunky when I use them. Like, it speaks to me in a game plan where I'm like trying to little by little increment my opponent until I get advantage. I'm like, no, none of this nonsense. I'm gonna start hitting them, and they gotta figure it out.
Do you know a card that isn't clunky, Admirable? Vendetta. That is a card. Like Burgle Rogue.
Look, Vendetta's sick. All right.
Burgle Rogue is like a concept that the design team have kind of been pushing on us for a long time, right? And it's never been good enough. They've kept trying to give it every single privilege. You know, it's like just when you're born into the right family, you just get everything handed to you, but somehow it still didn't work out for Burgle Rogue. But as soon as they printed a card that was like, hey, these slightly undercosted anti-tempo cards that you play to add more resources to your hand, but don't really do what Rogue wants to do and gain tempo. When you play one of those, you get to kill a thing for 0 mana. Like, that's what Burgle Rogue needed as an archetype.
It did.
As well as the card saying, from another class. That was important too.
Because can you imagine this with just...
Yeah.
More Burgle stuff?
Yeah.
Come on, Blink Fox.
Come on, Blink Fox. Sort your life out, mate.
Coin for Swidz. Got Evil Miscreant, Wagglepick, Leroy. This is looking like a straightforward kind of hand to me. Figure out how to beat him up quick.
It's a count to 30 kind of hand. That's what it is. Those help you count to 30.
Edwin on its own, this game is not going to be a 3-mana singular 2/2, I don't believe. Unless it's going to be Shadow Stepped in the same turn.
Yes. A Hench Clan Burglar now for Seiko will really open up the floodgates, because that will make his Edwin turn crazy if he can then squeeze in the 0-mana Vendetta alongside all of that as well.
See, that's what I'm looking at here for Seiko is, you know, I think that throughout his draws have been pretty darn strong, but to me, he has played them so magnificently that it's been so difficult to close the game against him otherwise. Here that he's got a below average hand and he has nothing to do, he has to figure out which one of these is going to be best. And we once again land on that Edwin is a singular 3-mana 2/2 card.
I love that it happened immediately after that you said it wouldn't as well. That's fantastic.
I said it probably wouldn't.
No, you said it would not unless it was Shadow Stepped in the same turn.
Well, okay, that's fair. I just assumed he was Shadow Stepping. And honestly, like, I just, like, without the Shadow Step on it.
But just, you know, memes aside, reevaluating 3-mana 2/2 there, like, what does it do? What's it there for?
Nothing.
What's it achieving?
Yeah. Like, what is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Huh.
So then why was there a 3-mana 2/2 play that turn?
What is it good for?
Okay. Whew.
I thought you were going to go on the whole... I thought you were going to do the rest of the song with me.
It's like blood from a stone over here, guys. This is hard work.
I mean, that's the whole song. It's like 4 minutes of it. He needs a big draw. One big draw can change it, though. Something that I really like about what Seiko has done, though, is he has played just as though he's going to draw the big card. Like, he just played Shark. He has no way to use it.
Nothing.
So many options.
It's very odd.
It's awesome is what it is.
Okay, sure. 3-mana 2/2 into 4-mana 0/3, both with no upside based on the current state of the game, is unusual looking Hearthstone.
But imagine what card you need to draw to win here. Probably Hench Clan Burglar. Probably a second Evil Miscreant.
Yeah, like Tempo Your Shark is reasonable in a lot of situations because you have a couple of turns to find the answer you need to go with it because of the stealth. But the 3-mana 2/2 is still somewhat of a mystery to me on the previous turn.
I mean, maybe it's specifically to just try and occupy resources. Maybe it's so Swidz spends on something. I think that's reasonable. That's not good.
Jeez. Reminder that Seiko is the player here that kind of has the extra minions in their deck.
Yeah.
Swidz is playing, all the Eviscerates and double sap and all that business. He's a much more aggressive form of rogue, whereas Seiko has all the mid-game minions available to him.
He does have 2 Eviscerates and sap of his own. I mean,
yes. But he also has 2 Blink Fox and 2 Hench Clan Burglars.
Yeah, that's true. Back into the water.
Was that did he use the fresh Shadow Step that he drew that turn?
Yes, it's from the right side.
Yeah, interesting. Generally, philosophically, kind of disagree with that. It's something that will probably never get solved, and it's such a pointless argument. I don't even really want to bring it up, but I accidentally did, so here we are.
Yep. I could talk about, how that left card represents a wide range of cards from Vendetta all the way up to Sea Giant, and including Shadow Step. That card on the right will not represent those cards as accurately, so this information here, a real thing. I think Seiko's right to play the one from the right if you want to delve super deep into it, but I digress.
I feel like you just made an argument for my point and then concluded with the opposite.
Well, see, I think he wants to...
Seriously, let's just abandon this. It's so pedantic. I'm so over it.
When you've gotten so pedantic that even Sottle doesn't want to be involved, that's when you know you've crossed the line. I apologize.
Oh, jeez.
Come on. Come on.
Come on, game.
Game.
Dealer, please.
I will say, though, from Swidz's perspective, I don't think he minds. He needs the win super bad, and Seiko does not.
That is very true.
Sometimes you'll take what you can get.
Yikes. No one has ever won a game of Hearthstone after spending 4 mana on Vendetta. It's never happened before.
So what you're saying is Seiko could be the first person to have ever done it.
Guide you.
I think it's great for Swidz. Ain't no spells on his side.
Ain't no spells on his
He
side.
doesn't have time for your fancy college boy magic tricks.
Look, we're casting Europe right now. We're not gonna have you speaking like an American anymore. that can't happen.
So many
None of this
options.
ain't no nonsense.
You can't tell me what to do, Sottle.
I can't.
You ain't my real dad. I was about to say, I was like, I don't even think you leave this up.
No, you definitely evolve it.
And that's pretty prime if you're going to evolve it to a 3.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not really a matter of you evolve it because the spell thing is a downside for you. You just evolve it because you want things that can attack as
You want a
opposed to a
minion.
0/4.
Yeah.
You want something that hits your opponent and ends the game.
That's probably too little too late, but
Almost certain.
it could do something. So I'm thinking if you double evolve, like maybe Ziliax,
Yep.
and then you get to use the Goblin Lackey to buff its attack to 5? Oh, this is weird. Everything here is a slim to none margin, and you have to figure out which of the slim to none margins is best. Yuck.
That did look pretty icky.
That's enough.
Yep.
Swidz up to a quick 1-0. Seiko just does not have a hand that gets anything done.
That was about the worst rogue draw I've ever seen. Like, it was really, really bad. Like, since the days where it was possible to, you know, draw double step, double prep, double backstab, double whatever, you know, like, you just have a handful of air. You can play your entire hand of 9 cards and it costs you 1 mana. You know, that kind of rogue hand. Since the days of rogue just aren't that anymore, that's about as bad as you can draw with that deck.
And that's why I was landing on that weird road I did where you opened up the hand reading thing. I was like, there's just nothing much else to talk about here. Seiko just doesn't have any cards worth using.
He spent 4 mana on a Vendetta. That was his best play that turn. That should tell you everything you need to know.
He spent 11 mana, and what he accomplished was returning the minion to hand to make it cost 2 less, dealing 4 damage to a minion, and getting a 2/2.
Yes, with Rogue, arguably the most
11 mana.
arguably the most efficient class in the game, and that's what he did with 11.
And so we're going to give Seiko a break for a second while he thinks about what just happened and comes back for game number 2. Swidz versus Seiko is underway, our 5th match of the day here in our day number 1 of Grandmasters week number 6. Stay tuned. underway with Swidz versus Seiko, and Swidz is up a game in this one. Deck lists are going to remain the same here in Specialist. They bring their primary deck, and then you have 2 decks of the same class up to 5 cards different. They are sticking on those initial 30. I'm Matt Saberville, joined by Sottle in this one. Sottle, we've had a pretty cool day at Hearthstone so far.
I have very much enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the games. I've enjoyed the company that I've been in.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, someone married you. You must have some merit.
Well, that was my scam mage.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that. Two happily married men now. Not to each other. That would not be a harmonious relationship whatsoever.
I feel like we would bicker a lot.
Yeah, I feel like we do anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
No.
Yeah, I got married, though. It was a 2-year engagement. The wedding was lovely. I'm sorry you couldn't make it.
Me too.
Dan officiated it, though.
He did.
It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very lucky.
Congratulations to the new Mr. Zamora. That's how that works, right?
I'm the new Mr. Zamora.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not changing names.
Okay.
That requires like a day of work.
But meanwhile, back to the Rogue Mirror that is going to potentially wrap up our day here for Europe. No surprise to see them both remaining on their original deck. They both pretty much have a dedicated anti-mage and anti-warrior deck for their secondary and tertiary, so they are just stuck on primaries for the Mirror.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to follow up the luck comment on hoping that Seiko had some more fortunate luck on this one. So since you didn't get to make that reference, I'll talk about how I hoped that was going to be in there so I can make the reference. And he has. I think this is a much better looking hand than he had in the previous game. Still not what you want to see, but you know what? In comparison to last game, you'll take it.
Yeah. Swidz already. Just considering the impact of 1 damage, and we've kind of had this conversation already. I do firmly believe that it's impossible to calculate with absolute certainty whether any given dagger attack is correct or not. There are just too many variables. I think it always comes down to some kind of feel thing.
God, I wanted to attack with it so bad. Because we're doing the same
but
thing
that's
here.
your feel. You're a very, like, that kind of permeates through the rest of your Hearthstone play, right? Like, you very, very heavily favor face damage in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
So, no surprise.
I mean, you build your whole deck to fight for the board so that you can get some face damage in. I'll take the free ones when I get them.
Yeah.
I'm not playing anything next turn. I know that.
Do you?
Yeah, am I going to prep eviscerate them and...
Maybe.
No, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
And if I drew Edwin in
If
that spot...
if your opponent coined a 3, like coined Edwin, you wouldn't prep a Evil Miscreant?
I think if I do that, I'm happy still using the dagger charge. Because my opponent's expended a lot, and I'm probably just going to have time to either throw stuff in the fray and attack him or deal damage.
Do you accept that me bringing up just one example that makes you think about it illustrates the point that it is impossible to calculate it with certainty?
You keep adding with certainty, and that's what I dislike about it.
I mean, that's the key part of the...
But nothing in Hearthstone's certain.
Exactly. I agree.
So by that same argument, nothing is calculatable for certain. Other than when you have actual calculable for certain situations.
Yes.
So many options.
But I think, okay, so the reason I bring this up is because so many people talk about dagger swing. I feel like more people talk about dagger swings with certainty than other players.
Okay, gotcha.
More people will say, you just missed a damage there. And I think that is an erroneous statement in a lot of situations.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that you just miss a damage.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm on board. I'm sold. You got me this time. This is where I say well played and my portrait explodes. Nice pickup for Seiko there. That might have been the draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh.
I like when you're offered just like starkly different options.
Yeah. Companion did definitely seem like the go-to there, but 2 backstabs in hand makes Cleave actually weirdly appealing against the deck where everything has 3 health.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
I really like the Hedge Clan Burglar pick up the Spectral Blade Animal Companion option for later on.
Big tempo turn for Swidz here.
Wow, this is interesting. So the prelate would keeps the rush buff. Is that correct? When it's shuffled back in?
Oh.
So you just put a 2-mana 3/3 rush in your deck.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Rush counts as an enchantment, the same as anything else. Interesting. Honestly, never encountered that scenario before. Or if I have, I missed it. I just didn't think about it. That seems likely too.
Seiko's hand is like really good, just not right now. I like vendettaing things that have attack on them as well. Like, I feel like vendettaing Spear of the Shark is just like, I don't want to do it. I'm going to, but I'm really unhappy about it.
You're unhappy about spending 0 to kill your opponent's 4-drop?
It's because it's a 0/3. Like, if I attack it with stuff, the stuff doesn't, nothing happens to it.
This goes back to that story I've heard you tell of, like, I think it was Magic tournaments where you would just, you just said to a friend, like, I'm just going to put bad minions in my deck and they're going to kill my opponent because they just won't kill them.
And that weirdly worked. That's like literally where I came up with the idea, inferior creature/minion theory. It's like, they're so bad you don't want to kill them.
Yeah.
It's good enough that you want to kill it. I just don't want to actually like spend my good cards to kill it. Where was Edwin this turn?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Where was Cleave this turn? I'm kidding.
So, you know, I respect Seiko's sequencing here, where he at least spent the Vendetta on something that had attack.
Yeah, well, it was just correct to, right? Because he was backstabbing and hitting the other one with his dagger.
That's
so
the point.
Hitting the 0/3. Well, it kind of is.
I want to use the Vendetta on something that has attack. It is correct, but I appreciate it as well.
You're right, Nathan. Your feelings are more important than taking 1 damage.
Everybody has feelings. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. They are important.
Mm.
I got a feeling Swidz was pretty unhappy about that, though.
I wonder.
Just this whole board went away.
Yeah, it was an above average amount of clearing potential that you'd expect to see from your opponent's hand at that point. I think he would have felt pretty confident that more of his minions were sticking around than this, but he has just about the best available refill in his deck, which is just double Snip Snap on 6. The card's so good. It's just like freaking flexi can. Like, sometimes it's a Harvest Golem, sometimes it's a can, sometimes you get to split your can up into 2 bodies to start with. Like, it's just good.
Yeah. It's like Snip Snap is to Harvest Golem as smartphones are to Blackberries.
So many options.
Worse to type on?
Well, no, a technological improvement.
Because Harvest Golem doesn't look that much easier to type on. I'm unsure where you're going with this. I don't think damage is really the out for Seiko yet at this point.
This little pig is not going to go to market either. It may hit face once, but...
Is that not the market?
No, it's not.
If I was to use that analogy, the market would be the face, I think.
I get it, but the BlackBerry is hard to type on a Harvest Golem.
No,
okay.
nonsense.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand where you are now.
Sorry, am I hurting your feelings? We've established your feelings are important.
No, they're not.
I do not want to hurt your feelings in any way. Your feelings are more important than 1 damage. We've established that, and I feel like I was dealing 3 damage worth of feelings there, which is just unacceptable.
Well, my feelings were hurt by the fact that it still hit a Snip Snap there. I mean, I get it. He's playing around all the removal options, but I agree with you. Damage isn't the out, so what is? Probably buying time.
That's the problem, right? Because currently you're being out-tempoed, you're being outvalued, and you don't really have a reliable plan to just stock up on damage, right? Like, I could understand the instinct of saying, just ship the Huff of the Face and hope that my next draws are just damage, 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 and I get there, but like Seiko's deck just isn't even really built like that. Like, it would be like Leroy, Waggle Pick into Leroy consecutively off the top that would get there. Like,
I hope you like my invention.
and in the meantime, your opponent just has to not have the tools to set up a 2-turn lethal himself. It just seems unlikely, but everything seems unlikely from this position.
So what's the draw?
Is that a step? Oh. We're back in ugly territory now for Seiko. I think he needs to turn this Shadow Step into cards. Yep. Ooh.
That's not good, though.
No, it sure isn't.
If you play a weapon from another class, it buffs up the spectrum.
Yeah, I think this Shadow Step needs to be not a Shadow Step.
What's the weapon from... All the legendary weapons are gone.
I wonder.
This doesn't do anything.
What do you... What?
I was thinking about weapons from another class. Like, in my head, I just pictured a bunch of legendary weapons.
Oh.
You could kill all your own minions as they come into play with the Overlord's Whip.
Too soon.
Yep.
Yeah, this is quickly becoming a big yikes territory.
Looks like he is. Okay, no, he is going to Shadow. Interesting. Doing this last, which means he's holding on to the 1-1 and not replaying it this turn.
Dog Waggle is the draw he's looking for.
Yeah, it's definitely worth considering. Okay, yeah, this is fine.
He's just been put in a spot where he has to play to a super narrow out.
Yeah, so he had to weigh up. So by going first, by just stepping it and replaying it, he can potentially find a spell that he can just use that turn to get him into a better spot, whereas he decided to go with the Stolen Steel out instead, and it gave himself Togwaggle as an additional draw off the top next turn. Or Spirit of the Shark #2, I guess, as well. Helps him out. Yeah, okay. I like his way better, the more I think about it.
Every time Seiko is in a spot where he has to draw the right card, I have seen him just about always make the right play.
Right.
The problem with that kind of scenario is that you're going to lose a lot of those games because you're just in a tough spot where you have to draw the right card. Like, that's just not a good spot to be in.
Yes. It's very hard to evaluate when someone is playing well when they're massively behind, because you don't get the feedback from them winning the game with their good play. You know, they lose the game with their good play. It's just Hearthstone be like that sometimes.
That's the wrong Rogue Legendary as well.
It sure is.
Yeah.
So many options.
And then Valir just gotta rub it in. There's like no options here. Togwaggle scheme with tack. Nope.
Daring Escape, sap the Sea Giant, try again next turn.
Shiv something and hope it works out right.
Everything any of us said and what Seiko did all seemed terrible this turn. That's just kind of where he is.
He's bought time fairly well, though.
Yeah. It's just what is his bought time playing him towards at this point?
Hoping Swidz doesn't find Leroy. I mean, we see it in hand, and now that Swidz has drawn Shadow Step, his plan, I think, becomes pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Backstab can help him tidy up this turn, make sure that the race is working well and truly in his favor.
I was kind of thinking about Blade Flurry as like an emergency option. Like, just keep chipping away at face, and if something huge happens on the other end, maybe Blade Flurry can buy you out.
I feel like Backstab is just the most efficient thing you can do this turn based on wanting to spend 4 on a Waggle pick.
Yeah, I'm probably getting too fancy, because I'm looking at, like...
Apparently not.
Well, I was looking at literally, like, your opponent loads up the board in some variation of this game, and you play Sea Giant with a Waggle pick equipped, and you Blade Flurry. Like, that's game. But if you play the Sea Giant now, it's already in play.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, okay. This makes more sense if he's going Sea Giant line this turn and not the Waggle pick line. Okay. Yeah, this seems reasonable. And this way he has 12 built up in play, plus 12 from hand with Leroy Step, so he's still setting up lethal. All right. Yeah, I like Swidz line. Makes sense. Yikes. Those all do precisely nothing this turn.
If it was an early stage, I can look at the gloop and go, ooh. But there's, I mean, he's just out of cards.
Yeah.
Shadow Flame? There's not really any Shadow Flame targets.
He's dead is the reality. Of course, Seiko doesn't know that, so he has to continue to plan for the long term.
Yeah. I'm trying to approach it from his perspective. I mean, this has just been back-to-back games where he has not had anything going.
Nope.
Swidz has capitalized on the situations right. Kill your opponent's stuff, play the big thing.
Magic Trick into Backstab, into Prep, nothing. Yeah, I'm just not seeing the outs.
Yeah. Important to know, Magic Trick is a spell, not a mage spell. That costs 3 or less.
Yeah, well, you can, if it's Discover, you always get the class that you currently belong to. You can only discover options from your existing class.
Yeah, unless it specifies otherwise,
Yes,
right?
yeah. It says Discover a Paladin card on
Yeah.
it.
Like a Crystal Song Coral, or whatever that card is.
Yes.
That's enough, though. Swidz has a clear game plan early on with the Leroy and stuff to back it up.
Yeah, clean wins. Honestly, wish there was more to add, but Swidz just had the goods that series, and Seiko very much did not. And honestly, it feels like looking at the deck lists that Seiko should have more gas throughout, on average throughout, with the additional Blink Foxes and Henge Clan Burglars that he does have access to. But that game, he did actually draw a decent number of Blink Foxes and Henge Clan Burglars, and they just were too slow based on how consistently ahead Swidz got in the early game.
You just drew all the little early utility stuff, the stuff that's supposed to be filling out your mana curves when you're waiting to do more powerful things. You're just opening it backstab, cable rat.
Yeah.
There's not really much to do. In game number 1, you just actually had nothing to do, and in game number 2, pretty much had nothing to do. Tough game.
Yeah, in one game he literally had nothing to do, and in the other game he literally had nothing to do.
Yeah, that's about right. But, you got to capitalize on those wins somehow, and that's exactly what Swidz did. It's just, well, my opponent's playing weak stuff. I'll kill them very fast.
And like you said, when you're in Swidz's position and you're playing against someone that's pretty much wrapped up into their playoffs position, and you're looking to just scrap for every win you can find to keep pace and potentially qualify for finals, yeah, you take those. If the game wants to hand you a free win, you gobble that up.
Indeed, indeed. And Swidz is ready for an interview. Swidz, can you hear us? Your microphone is muted, I believe.
And
Hello.
hey,
Hello.
Yeah. Sorry. Hello. Yeah.
Hello, and congratulations on your win. This is a big one for you. It moves you up to 5 and 6 now. Does this put some more light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to your playoffs chances? How are you feeling about that now?
That's gonna be really hard because I need to win all my match. If I want to make it. And tomorrow I play against Cassie. He plays the same rogue, almost play rogue Vendetta. So I'm super confident because my rogue is really better in the mirror. So I'm confident for this week, but next week I need to work a lot.
so that series seemed pretty straightforward, pretty easy for you. Were there any points where you felt like you were in trouble? Because it seemed fairly smooth from where we were sat.
Yeah.
No way where you felt behind. You just felt ahead the whole series.
Yeah, I feel in this series, yeah, I'm super favor. So
And for your deck list this week, a lot of people seemed to bring this specific deck. Where did the 1 Sea Giant idea come from?
Sea Giants is a good card in Rogue. Not in Rogue, but in the meta is really good. Against Rogue is not. It's okay. Against Mage is really good. And yeah, just against Warrior, it's bad. But for me, there is only 3 good class, so it's a Warrior, Rogue, and Mage. So I don't care about the other class because it's bad for me.
Is there a reason you've been just favoring Rogue over the others?
Yeah, Rogue. I'm just afraid about Warrior, but I have a really good side against Warrior, so I'm not afraid about Warrior. And I'm confident in the mirror against Mage. I'm okay as well, so I don't know. Rogue. I really like Rogue.
Well, that's good enough for me. I usually play the decks I really like too. So it's congratulations on your win. You moved to 5 and 6. 3 more, and you're looking at playoffs possibly. Congratulations, and look forward to seeing you play tomorrow.
Thanks.
He's just been playing a lot of Rogue. I mean, this was someone who is primarily known as a control specialist all of last year. It's like every tour stop, he just played Dead Man's Hand Warrior at like every single event and was putting up big enough numbers to get into Grandmasters from that spot. So for him, the opening weeks were just, it was Warrior and it was failing because people were hard targeting him playing Warrior. And since then, he's just swapped to Rogue and he's put up a much better record since then. And remember, we're looking at 5-1 since he swapped to just Rogues. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a certain irony to the situation where we're playing a format called Specialist, and Swidz is one of the most dedicated specialists that we have in the tournament, but his tournament fortunes dramatically improved when he switched away from the deck in which he is a specialist.
Indeed. So we take a look at the standings and see how things are shaping up now. It continues to build in the center tension point. 3 players at 5 and 6, hunting down the 6 and 5 players. And Seiko still pretty comfortably at top. It's going to take a couple more matches if that record's going to change.
Yeah, he needs to go on a pretty phenomenal losing streak before we even start talking about him potentially slipping down. Still, by far and away, the most dominant player in this division. It has been an early start. He has, fallen off a little bit. It's kind of washed up now. It's losing scares now. But really, from that point down is where it starts to get more interesting. Hunter Ace picking up a win is huge for him because if that one result had reversed today, Pavel went over Hunter Ace instead, suddenly that entire division is a mess below Seiko, and every single player is then looking at potentially a final spot, whereas Hunter Ace, just with that one win, has just created a little bit of breathing room between him and the chasing pack.
Indeed it has, and so that's our 5th match of the day for our first day here at European Grandmasters. So 2 more days of European Grandmasters are coming up, but we got to do America's region first because that's what rounds everything out, which means we're going to a break. And when we come back, we're going to have Frodan and TJ joining us as we send off the show over to Americas. Stay tuned.